Hello, all. Very warm welcome to all of you for joining in for the webinar today. And today we are going to discuss about a very interesting topic. It's also a very important topic which we face on day-to-day basis, and that's failure. And what I'm going to share with you today is what we need to do to move beyond failure. But before even we do that, we need to really truly understand what failure is, what exactly happens when we are faced with failure. And then we also have to understand what success is. And also to go beyond this journey of success and failure to really realize what is truly important to us. And in true sense, what does failure and success really means to me. So I'm going to share with you a presentation. And there is, if you can see, if as you guys have logged in, there is a chat box there, and this chat box is enabled. You can leave your questions here, and at the end of the session, I would take all those questions. So sorry for the delay in starting because I got into some technological challenges. So let's go ahead and get going with our discussion today about moving beyond failure. So what is a failure actually? And this is a definition which I picked up from Wikipedia. So according to Wikipedia, failure is the state or condition of not meeting a desirable or intended objective, and may be viewed as the opposite of success. So I'm sure that all of you have experienced this at different points of time in your life, that that this is a one particular condition which happens. And and if you see the key message here, what is the key message here? The key message here is it's a desirable or intended objective. And whatever is the desirable and intended objective, if you don't meet that, it actually is something considered failure. This pretty interesting definition out there. So if you really say, if you really see that who set up those desires, who has set up those expectations around a particular so-called success. So there is somebody who has set it up. Either it's you, or either it's people around you who have set up that expectation, that desire. This is what success or failure is. So as we move along, uh, the next thing which we really want to see is what are different definitions of failure. So sometimes what we call failure is really just that necessary struggle called learning. And then failure is only a temporary change in direction to set you straight for your next success. Failure should be our teacher, not our undertaker. Failure is delay, not defeat. It is a temporary detour, not a dead end. And if you understand from that perspective, all of these are also definitions of failure, but in a very different perspective. And what happens is that we continue to think that, oh, if I'm not able to meet my objective or a desired outcome or whatever is the expectation is, that means I'm a failure, which means that I'm no good, or I'm not worthy enough, or I would not be successful in my life. These are all different thought processes which actually come when we move along on the journey of our life. But before I even go further, the biggest question I want to ask you is, what do you think is there anybody in the life who has planned everything like point A to point B? They have defined their whole journey. They have a whole plan of their life. They have never gone into a situation which is outside their plan, which means is there any person out there who has never run into failure? There would be nobody. Every single person in some way or other has to run into a situation which has a desired outcome not being met, and that particular desired outcome not being met is called failure. But the interesting part right after that is that If your plans were not met, or you run into some situation which was undesirable or unexpected, did you stop there? And what I mean by that is, like, you said, like, hey, these are the 10 things I wanted to do, and this is step 2 to reach to this destination, and I failed, and this result hasn't come. And whatever you have defined, all the XYZ things, what failure means to you, you put it out there. then then did you stop really, or did you never took any action? Most of the people, they, even if they stop, the stop was momentarily. That momentarily is probably one day, 1 week, 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, but after that they decided to move. So ultimately the reality is, even though you run into a situation which is undesirable, unfavorable, but you still end up moving, which is you find something new to carry on with your plan, with your life. So failure is, in a way, just like this author was saying, failure is should be our teacher, not our undertaker. Failure is a delay, not a defeat. And it's a temporary detour. Whatever we wanted, it didn't happen. So now coming to the next thing, to really understand what failure is, in a different way, the real failure is when you try, you fail, you try, you fail. And ultimately, when you stop trying, that is what failure is. And you are not a failure until you stop trying. If you have no other testimony to tell to everybody else, all you have to do is, hey, I'm still there, I'm still trying. So the real failure is when you stop trying what's going on. And that's why it's very important to understand that you have to look into failure with respect to what are your efforts, what you have put, and where were you, and where you have moved from that point A to point B. So this is a journey. You have to look into the life in form of a journey, rather than, hey, I started somewhere and now I'm not able to meet this particular thing, that means it's a failure. It has never happened before. You have run into situations, you have never stopped, you have continued to figure out something else. You were looking to get into a particular course into your university, but for some reason it didn't work out. Did you stop? Did you quit studying? You took into another course, right? Or there was somebody in your life, there was a relationship which was emerging, and then at one point of time you both decided to go your own separate ways. Yeah, there was a momentary loss, there was sadness, grief, everything was there. But after you were done with that, you decided to move to the next step. And as you decided to move to the next step, you also realize that once you move, there are a lot more options which are available. So whatever you decided were only your version of the options. So a lot of people stop at deciding what failure is, and failure is really bad, because one of the things is our society, our conditioning, whether our parents, teachers, religion, whatever it is, they have defined failure in such a way, it's like as if something really big, really bad, and once you run into failure, then kind of your life is over, or you are less than others. And the worst thing is people stop trying after that. And some of the people who stop trying after that, uh, they they realize they have lost a lot of time when they come to the awareness that I have to continue moving. So whose loss is it at the end of the day? You would end up losing X amount of years, X amount of days before you really come to a realization I have to continue to move on. And because of the failure, because of the fear of the failure, people don't even sometimes attempt. Like, hey, this dream is too big for me to attempt. If I fail, I might risk losing whatever is your fill in the blanks, risk losing the support, risk losing the status, risk losing the respect in eyes of others, risk losing money, whatever it is, whatever is your fill in the blanks is there. So a lot of people don't even try uh, to go for their dreams, try to achieve something which they believed that is going to make their life better. And in that scenario, what is worse than failure is the fear of failure itself. And a lot of people don't succeed because they don't try. And the biggest cause of failure is the fear of failure. And fear of failure has come in our life from various perspectives. And what I mean by different perspective is all the information, all the knowledge which I have picked up in my life, from different sources. Because when we were born, we are already started given a set of problems. And what I mean by given a set of problems is we are already told that this is good, this is bad, this is what you should do. If you're able to do these things by this date, then, or by this time, that's success. Like if a kid is able to speak within first 10 months or whatever it is, then they say, oh, that's a success. If it's delayed, then it's a failure. If he's able to start walking in first year, then it's considered success. Otherwise, it's a failure. So right from the time we are born, we are given a set of problems, and these are like tasks in our life. We have to meet them in a particular deadline, and if we are not able to meet, then we are considered failure. If we delay it, even though we have done it little later, we're still going, oh, he failed or she failed. But ultimately, if you really realize, like, if you have failed at something, like if you are in a school and there was a class and there were like 50 students in the class, or whatever the number you were in your class, uh, if somebody failed, right, then they missed the year and they have to repeat that class. But does that mean that their life stopped in that class, right? Did it stop there? And also at the same time, all of those people who are continuously passing one class after another, all of you walk out of your university or schools into the life and trying to make your own career. Are all of you into the same career? You are not, right? Like there might be some people working in the same industry, but they would still be at a different point of time in different career. People choose different careers. They are even in similar careers. They are at a different point. So we are choosing very different kind of careers. We are choosing very different path. And the reason is we are very unique. Somebody's failure didn't determine that, hey, he's basically behind by a year. But you never know. Once you go out into the life, it's a different ball game. What you interact with, what emerges in the life is totally different than a lot of times what's been taught to you. So if you really see, like, we are all so unique, and when we go out and we start living our dreams are very unique too. And to reach out to those dreams, the journey is very unique to us also. So it's a very flawed model when people start talking about failure in a generic way. Hey, if this is what you can do by this certain age, certain time, then that is considered success. So that's why people try so hard to fit into that flawed model of by this age, by this time, or by this criteria. If I'm able to meet it, I'm a success. By this age, you should have a job. By this age, you should have a particular situation in the job. By this time, you should have a car, you should have a house, you should have a partner, you should have... Who defined that definition for you? And if you're not able to meet it, people look at you like, wow, something is wrong. And the deeper you take this definition of success or failure, which is defined by the world outside, the deeper you would be influenced and troubled by it. And you would actually spend your whole life trying to meet this criteria of what is success and what is failure out there. So let's go ahead and explore a little bit more of failure. So if I'm talking about failure, what does failure really means in this respect? What is the process about failure, and how do I really understand failure at a deeper level? So before even I go into the discussion of why failure is important, and the reason is we have to understand that failure is something which is always there. Means like everybody would interact at some point of time. You don't even know that when you would going to receive interact with failure, and a failure is very small compared to you're not able to meet that deadline, versus a failure is a very big thing, like you are not able to be successful in that particular relationship. So the old model which I was talking to you about failure is these two ways. Success is one way and failure is another way. But that's not what the true model is. This is the old model of success and failure, which is very much typecasted, very stereotyped, putting the people into buckets and all that. If you really see on your left hand side, there is an image. It's not two different streets. Success and failure are both on the same side of the street. And what I mean by this is that this success which is built up, or a destination, even if you want to see it from that perspective, it's built on failure. What I mean by that is, you have gone through something and you didn't find a desired result. You stop, you pivot, you make a change, and then finally you continue to move on. And if you don't believe me, I can show you so many famous people who were considered failures when they applied. So this is the creator of the Marvel comics, and when he first submitted his work, this was the letter which he received from the editor. We said like his work was not up to the mark. So somebody who has created such an amazing amount of comics, the movies which you're watching right now, was considered failure in the very beginning. This is the letter which U2 group, the famous music group, received in 1979 by a music producer who said like, hey, you guys are not good enough, and we won't be taking you in for cutting the album with you. This was the letter which Madonna received when she was initially starting her career, that she was not the person who would fit for that role, and she should rather quit doing it. And this is another example of failure. And then finally, the example of failure is Steve Jobs. He dropped out of the school, and then finally went ahead and started his own company. And even though launching his own company, he was finally kicked out of his own company, which is Apple, in 90s. And imagine you start your own company, your own concept, your own idea, your own dream, and you get kicked out because the board didn't like you or your plans anymore. But if you see these examples, uh, did they ever stop? They never gave up. They never thought that, hey, I am a failure, people rejected me, and this is no longer going to work for me. If they would have given up at that point of time when they received these rejections, they would have never been able to do what they did as they continued on their journey. And Steve Jobs came back to Apple again, and then you see today where Apple is, given us all of those amazing products so that we can continue and enjoying our life. And these were gifts which were given to us. So understanding that failure and success are on the same street. We are moving on the same street. It's not two different directions. So, and if you're moving on the same street, you need to understand what the process is, what this process of so-called success is, which is determined by going through so many setbacks sometimes, as you see some of these famous personalities, that they were rejected several times. And I'm just sharing 3-4 of these examples. There are several examples like that. The author who wrote Harry Potter, her books were rejected initially. The publisher didn't wanted them. It's like, this is not something which readers would like to read. But ultimately, she never gave up. And she never gave up. That's why you are able to enjoy those movies today, because those books became movies later on, as you know. So let's understand what the process is. Like, what is the process of moving towards this journey? So failure is a process, but what is the process about? Failure is a process of moving towards success. And in light of that, you need to understand what success truly is. So what a lot of people think success is, it's a straight line. How many of you really think it's a straight line? I wish I could have put a poll there to get your thoughts. But technically, success is not a straight line. Even though it's been defined, it's been told to us, this is how it is. It's point A, you plan it, you put your timeline, go for it, and finally get it. But success is more or less this path. You start, then you run into something which is not so cool, not as per the plan, unexpected results. Then you pivot, you move across, maybe sometimes you step back, and then you get more clarity, then you start moving, and finally, as you see, this arrow has traveled this journey. That's where it is. It's like, after a lot of hard work and sweat, you ultimately reach to that holy grail called success. This is another definition of from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. So I hope that puts something into perspective. So failure is a process to reach to your final destination of so-called success. It's all the different milestones which you come across. Sometimes those milestones don't look like that they are the real milestones, and that leads to a place where you can say it's failure. But if you don't stop, you pivot, you change, you learn, and you move on to the next level, that's when you would realize that this is what success is all about. And another light to see failure is actually a learning process. And what I mean by learning process is that once you get that undesired result, or an unexpected result, you step back and see what's good in it, like what is the learning opportunity for me in this, and you learn from it, and you go to the next level. And once you learn whatever is supposed to be learned and you go to the next level, then you won't repeat that mistake. And when you don't repeat that mistake, next time that problem comes, you're going to look at it and it's like, wow, I knew it because I have faced it before. And you actually you apply the right method, right process, and continue moving further. And when you continue moving further, that same issue or the same problem which was called failure previously, it becomes a fun ride. It's like, I knew the answer, I would go ahead and ask this. And that's why if you really see, like if you are if you are in a bachelor's exam, right, and you don't pass, and when I mean by like you don't clear those exams, you don't go to the next class. And when you don't go to the next class, you keep on repeating those same papers again and again and again and again until unless you pass them. And when you pass, and suppose you go to master's exam, you're not going to get the questions of the bachelor's in the master's because you already knew the answers. You've already done your learning. Like I'm working in an organization which is a Fortune 500 company, and one of the things which people realize is that there's so much of a stigma around failure. Like that nobody wants to fail, nobody want to appear bad, like because failure is considered like something bad which has happened. And a lot of projects which we do, sometimes people already know in the very beginning that hey, this project is not going to be a success. There is already a red flag, but nobody shares that it's going to fail, or it's going to be the success, it's not going to be success. It's almost like nobody wants to be the bearer of the bad news. And what happens is, few months down the line, all those red flags become bigger red flags. Now you can't hide them. It becomes very open that this project is not going to work out fine. But then people haven't shared that news before. 6, 8 months or a year down the line, the same project now fails. It has to be scrapped, and sometimes it's a loss of millions of dollars. So understanding this, that failure is the fear of failure is such a big deal that people don't even want to come and share that something's going to go wrong down the line. And you can relate to this example in your personal lives also, that they won't share the bad news upfront. If they would have shared that this is not going to work out, then people would have stopped, learn whatever they need to learn, pivot or change the direction, and gone ahead with whatever needs to be done. So in my company, they started a program called learning from failure, which is about, they give 12 commandments of failure, and then now the whole company is working on that. Failure is nothing. Failure is just a learning opportunity. And if you see a lot of folks who have actually a lot of folks who have been great inventors, what they have realized is that failure is actually a learning opportunity. And when you are in your life on a journey, it's a learning journey. And when you are learning every moment, when you're moving forward and you're learning, and one of the learning is that sometimes you don't repeat your mistakes, but sometimes for some folks like Mr. Edison, he failed several times because all he was doing was he was experimenting. And that's why he said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work, which means every time he has failed, or the so-called definition of failure, he is more closer to success. So attempt is actually the next attempt is actually what? The next attempt is actually more closer to the so-called success. And the good thing is, like, if you live your life from a place of experimentation, place of learning, that every opportunity is a learning opportunity, then you can never ever fail. What you fail is when you not learn from whatever mistake you have done. And that's why failing forward is important. And what is failing forward? Failing forward is that you run into a situation which was unexpected, undesirable outcome, and you learn from it and you move forward. That's what failing forward is. If you fail or get into unexpected result, unexpected uh, outcome, and you stand there, you stop there, you don't continue with your journey, then that is what failure is. But otherwise, failing forward is a big concept in corporations which they use, and what it all talks about is fail quick, learn quick, and move forward with that. So that's what our life is all about. Like, I'm continuing to learn. And some people might say, like, oh, I wish I would have made a different choice few years down, like back when that thing was happening. But if you really look back, like, even if I look back, a lot of choices, almost like so many of my choices, like maybe 99% of my choices, I would have said, like, I could have behaved differently, I could have acted differently, I could have done this thing differently. But at that point of time, that was all that I excuse me that was all that I knew. That was all which was available to me. So based on my capacity, my knowledge, my understanding, my capability, I made the choice, whatever choice I made. And based on the outcome, I learned and moved on and decided not to do it. Like, for example, when I was starting the webinar, there were some technological issues. I hope I won't repeat them next time. I won't run them next time. And if I learned it, my experience of starting the webinar would be very smooth. So understanding that failure is an opportunity to learn. And but what happens is, most of the time, what people do is people start asking when they fail, why me? Why this is happening with me? But the bigger question is not why me, what is there in this for me to learn? If you twist that question, you would immediately change the energy of whatever is the result which has happened to you right there. So if you really see, like, we are moving with this thought processes to just to understand how failure is a stepping stone for us to move forward. And sometimes you would have heard that saying that what is in the way is the way. And you would find a better way, different way, because your life journey is unique, your life path is unique. So your learnings would be also very different, even though two people would run into similar kind of failure, but they would come out of it with a very different set of learning based on their individual personalities. So I would like to share some examples with you. So in Hollywood, if you really see, when they're shooting a scene, how many times they shoot a scene? They say, like, take one, take two, take three. Imagine how many takes they take before the whole movie is complete. Thousands of takes. And if you really say take one versus take two, what is the difference between take one and take two? So if you really see, what is the difference between take one and take two? Take one was mistake, right? It didn't produce the desired outcome. The director wanted the scene to be shot in a perfect posture, perfect angle, perfect expression. It didn't work out. So the take two, take three. Sometimes you would have seen take 10, take 20. And all of these takes are one mistake after another mistake, and they'll learn finally till the time they get the right shot. Imagine if the director would have come across and said, like, If I'm not able to shoot this scene in one shot, I'm not going to continue because it's a failure. You guys would not be seeing any movies at all if that would have happened. So similarly, in your life, you would have opportunities. You have opportunities when you run into failure. It's just like, take one didn't work out, let's go take two. And if you make it interesting, you just tell yourself, take two, and I'm going for the second act, and then I'm going to be successful. And if not, then you basically learn from it and continue moving from there onwards. So it's a very different perspective in which you look at failure as a very big learning opportunity for you guys. So another example I want to share with you is uh, in the similar, in the Hollywood example, is like, there's another thing. If plan A didn't work, the alphabet is 24 more letters. So there's a plan B, plan C, plan D. So many options you have to go further. Even if you see from a flight perspective, average flight on its journey is almost 600 times out of its track. And what I mean by out of its track is out of its destination. So you sit in a plane, you start your journey, and because of the drift, the pressure, air conditions, and everything, the plane keeps on drifting off from its target. And all that pilot is doing is actually bringing the plane back on its target, bring the plane back on its journey. So that's what it is. And ultimately, by fine tuning it, pivoting, fine tuning, pivoting, changing the course, you ultimately reach your destination. Imagine if pilot thought, like, after the first time the plane goes off the track, that was not part of the plan, I'm not going to go anywhere else, I'm dejected, I'm disappointed, you would have probably landed on the other side of the world, right? So understanding that all of these are different failures which occurs on day-to-day basis, which probably you are not aware, but people learn from it. And when you learn from it, that's why you keep on moving. When you keep on moving, you continue on your journey, and then there is no disappointment. All there is a beautiful journey of learning and continue move forward. Another example I want to show you is like if you think, oh, you're a normal person, like, I run into failures. The big guys probably don't run into failures. But when Steven Spielberg was making the movie Lincoln, he wanted to cast Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln, and he thought he was the perfect guy to play that role. But ultimately, if you talk to Daniel Day-Lewis, and I'm showing you a script of that letter, Daniel Day-Lewis actually rejected offer of playing Lincoln in his movie. Imagine somebody of the stature of Steven Spielberg, who have made the biggest movies in the world, who is one of the greatest entrepreneur and innovator. He gets rejected, but he didn't give up. After 2 times of being rejected, he finally convinced Daniel Day-Lewis that he is the right guy to play Lincoln. Imagine if Steven Spielberg had given up, you won't have seen Lincoln with the amazing cast of Daniel Day-Lewis. So all of these things are our day-to-day examples of we how we continue to move forward in spite of, and every single person experiences failure in different ways. So if you guys have any questions till now, feel free to leave your questions here. I would take it there. So I hope you are with me till now and understanding that failure is just a journey. So let's go a little bit deeper to understand where is this journey going. And I want to stop here and talk to you about, why are we so scared of failures? Why are we so scared of failures? I discussed with you a little bit before that the reason why we are scared of failure is that we work on a very defined uh, model of what world has given to us. When we are born, they already gave us the whole formula of success, what success looks like. If you're able to achieve these things by this date, time, whatever it is, then you are a success. And then in light of that, they have defined failure, and very clearly, that if you're not able to do these things, then you are actually failure. So if you try to understand it, success doesn't hold its own value in light to certain relational to something. Similarly, failure doesn't hold any value in light with what is called success, right? So, and what I mean to say by this is like, if there were if there were no criteria of grading in your schools and you were just continuing to learn, then in light of no criteria of grading, then there was nobody who was failure and there was nobody who was success, right? If there were not preconceived models in the society of what is success and failure, both these words are irrelevant. And that's why you have to decide what I'm calling success in my life or what I'm calling failure in my life is my definition or somebody else's definition. As long as I'm continuing to buy into somebody else's definition, then I'm going to stress myself out a whole lot, And what I mean by that is I'm going to be always striving to meet somebody else's definition of success or failure. And that's why it becomes very challenging in this world where people find a lot of disappointment, a lot of discouragement, and that doesn't allow you them to actually even try to go for their dreams, and which is really a shame that people can't go for their dreams because they are so afraid of failure. And one of the things is ultimately one thing is what people call failure from outside perspective, but in a deeper understanding, if you really understand, failure is considered whatever it is. Like, if I fail, I'm not going to get enough support, I'm not going to get the relationship I want, I'm not going to get the respect I want, I won't get the power I want. So there's a whole list of what you will miss out or what would you lose if you fail. And one of the biggest things which comes up here is I won't be able to relate. I means like I won't be accepted. And as a human being, we have to understand that uh, one of our deepest desires here is is to be connected, to be accepted, to be loved, at deep level, to be celebrated, And if we are not able to, then we feel very alienated. And these are all the fears at a very deep level. And all of these are in some way or other, they are all some way or other just one thing. They're all self-worth issues. And self-worth issues comes from not knowing who you really are. And they get compounded by our conditioning, like when we start, our parents want us to start speaking at certain point of time in our life. If we don't speak, then they get disappointed, or they want us to do certain things and we don't do it, or we don't meet their expectation. They feel disappointed, and when they feel disappointed, they might behave in different ways because they're as mature as they can be based on their upbringings or whatever lessons they have learned in their life. So they might sometimes reject us, or they would withhold their love from us. And when they withhold that love from us, or their acceptance of me from their side is not there, I create this demon or a monster in my head that if I'm not able to meet that preconceived definition of success, then I would be alienated. I won't be accepted. I won't be loved. And whatever rest of the life as you continue to move on, whatever you associate with so-called failure. So it becomes a big emotional trauma for you, that what failure is. And that's why people can't relax. And when they can't relax and be by themselves, they would never have access to what is their definition of success, what is their definition of failure. So it becomes very challenging. And then you realize over a period of time, you would have spent your whole life living somebody else's definition of success or failure. And that's a very difficult benchmark to attain, somebody else's definition of success or failure. And sometimes even if you meet somebody else's definition of success or failure, maybe, for example, it's your parents, they might have a different idea of what it is, because what you learn is a version of their version of what is success and failure, and how you interpreted it is your version of it. So it's a very stressful life to live if you are basically living always trying to be into somebody else success, the definition of success or failure. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. So ultimately, the lesson is, remember that failure is an event, not a person. And what I mean by this is that it's an event. It just happened. You don't stop your life for an event and don't move forward. And you don't make a demon out of it, that as if failure was a person and it continues to keep on, like, days after days or years after years, and it's not following you. You've just done failure. It's an event. Understand, learn, and move forward from it. But the thing is that we are so much tied to this whole somebody else definition of failure that we just strive so hard to meet that, and there is nothing wrong in it. All I'm trying to say is, find the way, whatever is your individual definition of success or failure, so that you don't stress yourself out. And just people don't want to appear failure. They do so much of drama, which means they would put so much of mass to appear as success. And I have seen in different societies, when parents have a lot of expectation of their kids, the kids actually end up living just for their parents. Like, they would do every single thing, getting all their best of grades and ranks and all the things, that they forget to be a real person. And this world, if you see, is suffering from this so-called disease. I called it looking good syndrome, which is LGS. And LGS is no matter what, you have to look good, you have to look successful, and whatever is. And as much as you're bought into the definition of success, that much you have to play that role of looking good syndrome, LGS. And when you play this, when you are coming from a place of LGS, you're trying to look good, even when you are not. And what is you are not is the bought definition of success or failure. So when you pretend something, it becomes very difficult for you to be very authentic. And when it becomes very difficult for you to be authentic, then you are going to meet people, or you're going to connect with people who are at the same level of vibration, because that's what you are attracting as per law of attraction. And when you are going to find people who are less authentic, even though your original expectation was that they would accept you, they would love you, and you can have a very deep connection with them. And the original thing which you really wanted was to have deep connection as a human being with other human beings and have very fulfilling relationship. So when you are coming from a place of looking good syndrome, the other person is coming from a looking good syndrome, you have your mask on, there is no authenticity. You're not going to connect to the real person. You're going to connect to the mask. The other person is connecting to your mask. You're connecting to their mask. And the very thing which you desire, that authentic relationship, the true love, the true connection, true acceptance, that goes missing. So understand that what is the cost you're paying by buying into the definition of so-called success or so-called failure. So I would like to share with you a few more ideas around how do you get out of this trap. Some of the things which I have applied personally in my life, some of the things which I've seen other people applying. So failure, to understand what a little bit before what failure is. The second thing is you have to free yourself from others' expectation of you. And when I say others' expectation of you, is others' expectation of success or failure. So you have to define your own success and failure. And I understand some of you might say, hey, I live in a family and we have to meet with the expectation of each other. I work at a certain place, I have to meet the expectation of other folks who are here. So in that situations, the best way to approach the success or failure is to really understand the expectation of others from you. What do they consider success? Can you meet it? Can you not meet it? Or if you can't meet it, where can you meet in the middle so that you're able to, being at work, being in family, and continue with that journey. So that is very important to understand what are the expectations in each of the role which you're playing. Because if you don't know, you are just basically striving hard to meet a particular benchmark of success. And if you don't, either sometimes you blame yourself failure if you don't meet it, or even if you become if you meet that benchmark and you become successful, look good, but you might not be the person who's going to feel good about it because it's just done for somebody else. So the biggest question is, find your definition of success. What is success? Else in this world can tell it better than you what the success looks for you. The success looks for you having X amount of dollars in your bank account. The success looks uh, like having your own house by a particular date, particular time, or the success means that you're working to serving other people. It doesn't really matter how much bank balance you have, whether you have the best car or not, but what is your definition of success? And one of the things to really know what is your definition of success is, what are you passionate about? And it comes back to a deeper question of, what is your purpose here? Why are you doing? These are some fundamental questions which you have to answer for yourself. And just like nobody can define success or failure, what is your purpose? You have to find your own purpose, because once you find your own purpose, you become passionate about fulfilling it. And if you find a lot of people who are so-called masters in their field, or who are geniuses, they exactly knew what they are here for. And even if they didn't knew the perfect criteria, perfect picture of what that end result or that success looks like, they continue to move on that journey. Like Edison kept on finding new and new ways to invent new things, and he took so much of time to figure out what light bulb is, but he really figured out because he was very passionate about it. And also, one of the ways to look at it is, what will fulfill you? Because what would fulfill you is your journey to following your own passion. And when I say fulfill you, fulfillment is a very different energy compared to the energy of achievement. And what I mean by this is, like, you actually could be a very high achieving person, but ultimately achievement doesn't lead to fulfillment all the times. Some people, for them it would be, but typically fulfillment has a altogether different flavor, something which fulfills you inside. And even the whole world recognizes it or not, but what you enjoy in that fulfillment is truly your own taste. Then you don't really even care that that whether somebody else recognizes me for my success, my fulfillment, or no, because you have defined who you are. You have stopped buying into the idea of somebody else. And another thing is something which really helps you get away from this fear of failure is persistence. So your persistence is basically about one of the definitions which you saw previously. Like, you keep on going from one failure to another till the time you get to a place of your desired result of your success. So as long as you're persistent, then there is nothing else which really matters. Talent doesn't matter. Your skill set doesn't matter. They all help. But what takes you to your desired definition is your persistence, which is to never give up, which is your determination technically. So another thing which I really want to share with you in this definition, or in this journey of success or failure, because I don't see both of them as differently. I kind of use them in a similar term. One is leading to the other. You have to trust that your life journey is actually unique. And just like Rumi said it very well, live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. How many of you actually think that life is rigged in your favor? I've seen a lot of people thinking life is against them, and that's why they have such a strong, unpleasant experience of being here. They find it struggling, they find it challenging, and all that kind of stuff. But like, failure is nothing. Failure is just a And I'm moving from one learning to another learning to another learning till the time I reach to a place of desired outcome. uh, for them, it simply is that I'm just trusting this journey is going to come out great. And when those kind of people who trust life, they actually approach life from a very different energy. And the energy is that energy of curiosity. And what I mean by this, they look at it like, wow, what can I learn today? So they have this inquisitiveness which is inside them to say what I can learn, even if it's not so-called successful result or something which come out of meeting my expectation. What is there to learn? So for them, then life becomes an experimentation. Just like you, some of you people who are good cooks, you go out into the kitchen and you start cooking. You didn't become a great cook in the very first day, but you learned several different ways how not to make that particular dish, right? Whether the salt became more or the water was more or something else became more, but you learn ultimately to perfect that dish. But at the same time, if you have given up on the process of that learning, if you didn't trust it that I'm learning, then you would have given up. So similarly in life, sometimes you won't really know what's going on for you. This failure, this setback, or whatever you call it, is there. What does it really mean? But you have to trust that whatever I can learn in this moment, I can continue moving forward. I have to be persistent. And sometimes the learning is not very clear immediately, and and that's fine. But in that situation, that's when the trust really matters. You come out and you say like, I really trust, and I would get to know the answers at the right point of time. Even I would get to know the learning in its own time, so I trust that. And then you continue moving forward. And sometimes you would look back, you can't connect the dots when you are really going through that tough, challenging time, when you have had the setback. But when you look back 6 months down the line, a year down the line, you understand that, wow, that relationship which broke my heart and I thought I would never be able to survive, never be able to love again, I think that was the best thing which happened. Because if that won't have happened, it won't have allowed to find who I am truly, or it won't have allowed me to find my real relationship, the real person who accept me, who love me exactly the way I want them to. So trust is really, really a game changer in this journey. So I hope it's clear till now where we are. So as we are reaching to the end of the hour, what I would do is I would share with you a couple of slides, and then we would do a little bit of meditation. And before meditation, I would take some of your questions. So when you start defining your own, uh, when you start defining your own version of what success or failure is, then you're the only person who is answerable to you. Which doesn't mean that you skip the responsibilities towards your family or work or society or whatever it is. But you are very clear why you are here, what you need to do, what you're passionate about, what your purpose is. Because at the end of the day, whenever you are end of the road for your this lifetime, that end of the journey, you are the only one who's going to answer some questions for yourself. Whether you lived your life, you lived your version of life, your version of success. And at that point of time, you don't want to feel regret that, oh, I didn't live my life because XYZ reason, because I was busy living somebody else's definition of what life is, what success is. So at that time, you would inside exactly knew that when you're leaving this world, that what I did and what was the reasoning behind it. So if I didn't did this thing, if I didn't go for my dreams, then I can have a good my dreams because my parents wanted to do something else. They wanted me to be engineer or a doctor or whatever it is. But I could have done that, I could have followed my dream. So at that time, none of the excuses really matter. So I want to share with you one slide, and some of you might have also seen it, that these are the top 5 regrets of the dying people. And this was taken by one of the nurse who was working with terminally ill patients, and this is for not just one nurse, but all the nurses who actually work with terminally ill patients. And these were their biggest 5 regrets. And the number one was, I wish I had the courage to live myself, not life others expected of me. And within this is encapsulated within that expected is the definitions of success and failure. The next one is I wish I hadn't worked so hard, which means I have maintained a better work-life balance. I would have probably gone for the things which would have fulfilled me rather than investing my time and energy into things which made me look good or which made me look successful. So if I would have known from the very beginning what I'm here to do, what would fulfill me, I would have kept a very good work-life balance. And when I'm going for my dreams, what I'm passionate about, then you also don't have the feeling that you're working hard. It's just a learning process. It's experiment. You're enjoying being on that journey. The third one is I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. How many times in our life we never get opportunity to express our feelings? Like I would have shared that with somebody, that how much you love them, how much you're grateful to them, and you kept on waiting. At one point of time you would tell them, and then that day never came, and they left, whether physically left this world, they left your life, and you never had opportunity to share with them. How many times you would have felt that you would have stand up for your own dreams and told the people who were taking decisions on behalf of your life that, hey, I don't agree to this. You stand up and say no to them for yourself so that you can live your life. The fourth one was I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And we have lost a lot of people, a lot of relatives, a lot of friends on our journey. So the fourth regret was I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And you can give a lot of excuses and say like, oh, I was very busy living my life, making a living, earning, and that's why I couldn't keep in touch with them. But when you are asking this question, what are your regrets, they would all pop up. You're the only one who's going to answer. And I don't want to sound negative here, but I'm just trying to give a perspective. These are some of the biggest regrets of people who are dying. And if I understand it, when I read this first time, I realized that, I don't want to have these regrets when I'm dying. When I'm dying, I should be able to be happy and see that I lived my life the way I wanted to live. And I didn't live somebody else's definition of life. I want to be living a fulfilling experience, because dying is a very subjective term in some ways. Like you don't know when is your end date. Like I don't know, it could be tomorrow, 20 years, 50 years. So if every day I can ask these questions, it's like if tomorrow is my last day on this earth, what is the answer to these questions for me? So that's very personal to each one of you. Nobody else can answer. People who are the closest in your life, your wife, your kids, your parents, even they can answer that for you. I wish, and the fifth one is I wish I had let myself be. This is a really big one. What is it that you're doing that is not allowing you to be happy? That is taking the toll away from your life to be fulfilling on day-to-day basis. So as you have these regrets out there, there's another set of things which can help you in living your life fully. And this is basically the other spectrum, is you live a life true to yourself. And the key word is true to yourself, not true to your neighbor, not true to your parents, not true to anybody, your kids or your wife. And which doesn't mean that you have to disrespect them, but you have to express it to them what is being true to you, because ultimately the authenticity which you're going to experience, first of all, you would enjoy it. And no matter how much other people feel challenged by it, at one point of time, they would enjoy your authenticity because you're coming from a place which is much more deeper, much more from your heart. Work less, you define what your work is. If you're passionate about doing whatever you're doing, your work is your worship, as they say. So you define your own work-life balance. Express your feelings. This is a don't express your feelings, then they get bottled up. And a lot of issues around in this world, if you see around addiction, is because of lack of expression of what they're feeling. There is no proper outlet. And when it builds up, it actually becomes a blockage. And when it becomes a blockage, it doesn't allow you to access the deepest part in you, your deepest longings in your heart. And when you're not able to do that, all you have to do is either buy into somebody else's definition of success or failure, or you have to play that game of looking good syndrome, LGS. Stay in touch with your friends, people who love you, people who accept you, irrespective of whatever you're going through in your life, because they are the people who actually see you for who you are rather than whatever version of you want to project, whatever other people expect from you. And finally, let yourself to be happy. Ask this question in this moment: what will allow me to be happy in this moment? What should I add? What should I delete? What change should I make which would allow me to be happy? Because very basic understand, people say these things, when I have all of these things, then I would be happy. That is, you are procrastinating your happiness for future. And a very good chance is, if you're not happy in this moment, you might not be happy whenever you reach to that destination either. Because happiness is a journey which you do every day rather than a destination. Just like success is a journey, it's not a destination. And failure is neither an event. Failure is not a person, it's just an event. So all of these are basically journey which you are taking one step after another step to finally go to that level. So these are some of the thoughts which I wanted to share with you guys to let you know that, like, failure is just another event which has happened. You don't have to dwell so much on it. Learn, move forward. You're not the first one who experienced an unexpected result or a setback. There are people before you who have done that in the history. It didn't stop them. There would be people after you also who would be going through the disappointment or setback of not meeting their expectation or targets, whatever it is at that point of time. And sometimes better not to get those quicker results, because then you won't set your expectations high. So sometimes those failures were good learning opportunity for you to strive higher and higher. So I hope it clarified some of your doubts or give you a different perspective around success and failure. So that's where I want to end, and I want to end with a little bit of meditation. So I want to check if you guys have any questions you want to ask. So I would give you a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, please leave your question in the chat box, and I would go ahead and answer. One of the question which came is like, how do I communicate this, the whole, like, what is it that I really want to do, what I want to live, especially in a family setting when people have a lot of expectations from me. So a very basic thing which you can do is, in any relationship, just like any relationship, what is important is communication. You have to communicate what is your deepest longings are, and you could be very authentic in sharing what is that you really want, what is it that you really value. And if you really see, every person who is in your family has a different value system, and the idea is to respect each other's values, what they are, what they stand for, but at the same time communicate that what is really real for them. So once you communicate, the next thing is you have to set up agreements. So once you communicate this is what your longings are, then you have to understand what are the other people's expectation from you, and then you see where you can have a good dialogue with them, where they can see the picture or your longings, and you can see their longing from their perspective, and then come to an agreement where you want to meet, so that your expectations are very clear, what you're bringing in the relationship, what your approach would be, what you are giving, what you are receiving. And once you are able to set that expectation, set everything in that way, then it becomes much more easier to go after whatever you want to go, what you want to live for, what you dream for. Because otherwise, if you start following your dreams without communicating it, it would leave somebody else in a very different space. You have decided to change, but you haven't given any opportunity to for other people to understand where you're coming from. And once you do that, You lose trust, you lose faith, and you would run into roads. Instead of making those people your friends who can support you and take you to the next level, they become your roadblocks, and you don't want them. You want them as your supporters. So communicate it very clearly, set up clear agreements, and once you set up very clear agreements, it's very easy to go for it. And there was one question: what can one do when others' expectations have become so taken on that one doesn't know they are other expectations, not one's own true longing? And this is called a classic case of conditioning, which we all go through. And depending on how heavy-handed our conditioning have been, like how much we have bought into the version of success and failure from other folks, how do I really know it's mine versus it's coming from me versus others? And a very good thing is like a very good method is like when you sit and ask, like I give you these 5 regrets and then 5 counter happiness, I would call them injections. If you read them and sit with them, do you feel happy? That are you following your dreams? Are you living your life? Or do you have a good work-life balance? These are some of the things, and you would know as you ask those questions, it would come from inside. Yeah, I'm doing it or I'm not. Because if you're doing it, there would be a sense of happiness, there would be a sense of satisfaction, there would be a sense of fulfillment in this moment itself, not 5 years down the line when your dreams are met. So as you sit and ask these questions, feel what you feel. And if you don't feel anything, and all that's going on is a mental chatter in your head, that means you are living from a place of conditioning. Your life currently, you're living from a place of conditioning, because conditioning is all happening here. You have become a personality defined by somebody else's definition of success or failure. Some parents take a lot of pride in sharing to the world, like, hey, look, I did so much for my children, I educated them, sent them to the right college, helped them in getting into the right relationship, well settled and everything. Great thing what parents have done. There is nothing wrong about it, but you have to step back and it's like, is your son or daughter for whom you have done it, are they really happy with whatever has happened? They might have compromised, like this is the best deal, but ultimately, are they truly happy? And if you are that son or you are that daughter, you need to sit back and start, and you're that partner also, or you're that parent also, you have to sit back and start that, are you happy right now? Are you fulfilled right now? And you are going to get that answer right now if you feel fulfilled in this moment, if you feel happy. I'm not saying 100% like not fulfilled. I'm sure there will be some dreams which you want to go for in the future. But in this moment, till this point of time in your life, till today, for example, in this moment, are you fulfilled? Are you happy with whatever, wherever you have been, whatever you have learned, whatever your journey you have taken? And if you feel, and the key word here is feel, not think. If you feel it, you would realize that, yeah, you are living life in the way you want to live, because fulfillment is your own very individual journey. But if you still start discussing it in your head, you're trying to make sense out of it, try to justify why do you did, that's not the place. Then you are living somebody else's definition of somebody else's expectation, somebody else's conditioning, somebody else's version of success and failure. Then you're not living your life. So thanks for asking that question, Kim Joy. Anybody has any question? Otherwise, we can actually go and do a little bit of meditation before we wrap up. And this is not your last. This is not your last opportunity for any questions. I would post this video, and when I would post this video, you would have opportunity to ask some more questions. So I will check one more time if there are any questions. Otherwise, I will actually go ahead and invite you folks to sit and enjoy a little bit of meditation here. And we would meditate a little bit around this, try to find that place inside where we can more deeply. So take a deep breath in and just allow yourself to just relax in this moment. And as you exhale, just feel you are letting go of all that stuff which has happened till now, this point of time, like things which happened earlier in the day, in the morning, yesterday, before, or all that stuff which has happened till this point of time. And bring your awareness and attention from the past, wherever it is scattered, into this moment. Similarly, all the attention and awareness which is scattered into the future, like things which you have to do, your to-do list, what you need to do tomorrow, day after tomorrow, all your plans for the rest of your life, wherever your energy and awareness is scattered into the future, just bring it back into this moment. And one of the quick way to do it is just follow the trail, the journey of your breath inside you, wherever it lands. Just take it there. Find a safe place. Wherever your breath lands, it's a safe place for you. And let it out. Give yourself permission to relax. And just for a moment, connect yourself to inside, to a place where you have a memory of when was it that you were really excited and enthusiastic about learning something, or you were really curious about knowing something more, something really important, or something which you thought would add value to your life. Maybe as a kid you wanted to know something, how this swing works, or how I can play this game, or when you really got enrolled into the best course or best class in your school, university, or you got enrolled into something which you really wanted to do, like a dance class or whatever it is. So how did you felt at that moment? What were the feelings at that time? What were the emotions at that time? You were feeling excited? Was there anticipation? Or were you stressed? What was the feeling or emotions available at that time? And underlying this memory, just connect more deeply to the feelings which were there. How does it feel to feel excited about something, to be curious about knowing something more, to be in this happy anticipation? And where do you actually feel this energy in your body right now? Do you feel it in your chest, in your belly, in your lower abdomen, or in your head? Where exactly? Just go to that place and enjoy that feeling of anticipation, being excited, being open about learning something new, being curious about moving forward. The happy anticipation, something good is going to happen. Where do you feel it in your body? And if you don't feel it, it's also okay. Just stay with the thought right now. And as you feel it and you find that place, just bring your awareness there. Like all your attention and awareness, bring it to that part of your body. And one of the easy ways to do it is just as you bring your awareness there, just feel that as you breathe into that part of your body where this energy already exists. As you breathe in and you exhale out, just feel that how that part, that energy expands there. And as you breathe in, just feel you're breathing in all the excitement, all the amazing anticipation, all the curiosity, all you're looking forward in life, that feeling. And as you exhale, you feel that as if you exhale out, being more fulfilled in this moment, just by knowing that you have access to this energy. And as you breathe out, as you exhale, just feel how this energy of being fulfilled, being happy anticipation fills up your body, like fills up your belly, your chest, wherever you are. Just start expanding and goes all the way into your lower abdomen, all the way down to your legs, to your feet. Like with every breath, as if this feeling is increasing. And similarly, it goes up, fills up your chest, your shoulders, your arms, all the way to the fingertips. Fills up your throat, your face, your eyes, your head, all the way, the back of your head, all the way to your, travels all the way through the spine, to your lower back, and your legs all the way to your feet. Just enjoy being here in this space, of being this in this beautiful energy of openness, fulfillment. And with every breath, it increases. And knowing you are an unlimited being, you can expand it further. You can choose, hey, I want to expand this experience 50 times more, and you expand it and it becomes more. And you can choose to expand it further. It's like I want to increase it 50 times more, and this energy increases. It now fills the room around you. And from this space, just see what the success really is, what failure really is, how they are both tied to each other rather than two separate paths. They're all journey on the same path, one serving the another. Failure allows me to learn, see life in a different perspective. When I see life in a different perspective, I get enriched. And with this enriched space, I approach life, see things differently, work things differently, and continue moving towards my journey of enjoying life, being fulfilled, and making the difference I'm here to make by living my dreams. So take a deep breath in and allow yourself to enjoy this space. This is all yours. And if you really see, there isn't much which you need to shift other than coming into the space of this knowing that you already have this understanding. And all you have to do is now live this understanding, feel this understanding, moment by moment. Whenever you get into a setback or into a result which is unexpected, come back to this space. This belongs to you. And remember this place inside you where these feelings already exist. So take a deep breath in, let it out, and whenever you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And also, as you open your eyes and look around, just see what is around you, whether you see a wall, TV, or you see a computer, or you see me on on the computer screen, just be aware that all of these things are expressing or revibrating the same feeling what you're feeling inside in this moment back to you, to make you realize that this is a journey and you can enjoy this journey. So thank you guys for joining in today for this session of Moving Beyond Failure. We learned what failure is, we learned what success is, we learned what holds us back from living our life, living our dreams, understanding that failure is just an event, and also understanding what is to really live our life truly, right? What's the process of moving beyond failure to live our life truly? So all the best to you guys in your journey forward, and I hope I am able to share something with you guys so that you can understand there is nothing like failure in life. It's just another learning opportunity. If you ever feel disappointed, just like a film director say, take one failed, take two, and go on with your life and create your own script. Be your best actor in your own movie. So thank you for joining in, and I would appreciate if you can leave some comments here. I'm going to post the video on YouTube and on Facebook, and it would be great that if you can leave some comments, what you feel about it, if you have any questions, anything like that, you can leave it there. I would try to respond to them, and you can share this video with anybody you want, somebody who you feel get benefited. Thank you, and all the best in your journey. See you soon. Bye-bye.